Welcome, superheroes, to another episode of the What's My Superpower podcast with me, your host, Nigel T. Best. Okay, Bestie, hit it. All right. I don't know if you watch it on YouTube, you will see me doing a bit of a dance to that. Yeah. Well, no, you can't call it dancing. I'm guessing dancing is not my superpower. But welcome back. If this is the first time watching on YouTube or listening on the What's My Superpower podcast, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful for you being here, and I just know that the reason you came here is because you suspect you've always had a superpower, but you just weren't sure what it was. And you just weren't quite sure whether you should use it. And maybe you weren't certain that it would make a difference, and so why bother? Well, my friend, welcome. I am so pleased you are here because it does make a difference. You do have a superpower. We will discover it. You can use it. You should use it. The world is ready and waiting for you to help out, for you to contribute, for you to do it. We've spoken before, the state of the world at the moment. Oh, my goodness, we need you. You know, the level of fear in people at the moment. Oh, my goodness, we need you. You know, the problems that we're facing as a world, oh my goodness, we need you. We need you and your superpower right now. But today I want to talk to you about somebody who was very special for me, and he was my dad. Now, I know some people have a rotten time with families, parents, and all the rest of it, but I was very fortunate. Fab mum and dad. You know, I couldn't have asked for any more. Very, very lucky sort of person. And I call that a super gift. I was a beneficiary of a super gift there, mum and dad. But I want to talk to you about my dad. Now, my dad was a very quiet guy, but he was very, very principled, in as much as whenever he saw something, you know, he was always of the opinion that you had to do something about it. So he would never like to see situations where if there was a problem and he could help out, that he didn't help. And I think this goes back to when he was a kid. Now, my dad was actually a kid during World War II. And it was one of these things where everything kind of disappeared. So toys went, food went, education went, safety went, fear appeared, and scarcity appeared. But there was a way there that my dad always sort of, you know, I think maybe that situation created him, or maybe he was just the right person for that situation. But it was always tough for food. And so my dad, as a kid, and he would be, you know, pre-teenager. Yeah, he was kind of pre-teenager, just into teenage years during the war. And what he found was he worked out that if he got himself an allotment and created a bit of space, he could buy some seeds, grow some veg, have enough for him, his brother, sister, mum and dad, and sell a bit to make a bit of money as well. And so he saw that you could do that, and he did it. And he then realized that there were no toys. Toy shops had gone. No one was, you know, nothing was there. So my dad used to, I think the cellar in the house, so the basement, the cellar in the house, that was part-time bomb shelter, a part-time kind of workshop. My dad he taught himself, as far as I'm aware, taught himself how to make things out of wood, how to create things. And whatever the situation was, he could try and make something of it. And he would make these model aeroplanes, and he would make, if anyone knows Sabutio, the little flick, the little characters sort of on a round base, the football sort of game, and you flick them with your finger, and it had to hit a ball, and it was on a kind of cloth on your table, and it was something that my dad decided, right, okay, there's things that kids want here. Now I can make some money for the family, and I can help them. And so he would make toys, and he would make model aeroplanes, and I can't really describe them because they are absolutely stunning. What I will do is if you're looking on the YouTube, I would, at this point, I will try and take some photos because there's only a few that survived. I'll take some photos and I will put them onto the video so you can see them. So what are we in, about 6.5 minutes in, 7 minutes in or so to this? I will put some in so you can see them. And he made these and he sold them to the kids, local kids, and he made some money, which bought him enough stuff to help the family as well as doing things. And I remember talking to him about some of these things, and I said, well, look, these are really tough times. You've missed out. And he said, well, he used to say to me, you had to do what you could with what you had at the time and just get on with it. And I was always staggered. And he did these things. And when I talk about the Sabutio and the little sort of things, I guess I'd be horrified if my kids tried to do it now, but his mum was as well, because she'd occasionally walk into the kitchen and he would have found some old lead spoons and he'd be melting them down in a pan on the cooker, and he'd be casting them into little discs so that he could insert a little bit of cut out wood for the player so he could paint it up. And he was making these things in the kitchen. So molten lead, as kind of a 10, 11, 12-year-old, it's sort of, it's not quite health and safety, I'm guessing, is it? And it's not on Blue Peter, I don't think, for those of you that know what Blue Peter is. But he was doing this, and he was just saying, hey, look, you got to fill your time. You've got to do these things. You've got to take your situation and make the best of it. And it was one of these things that, I always thought, wow, that's incredible. And my dad would always sort of look at things and say, right, okay, look, if there's a situation, so as it went beyond that, if there's a situation where things aren't right and something has to be done, then he always took the opinion, don't get angry. Don't get angry. If you want to change things, don't get angry. So when they said, there's no toys, he didn't get angry. He just said, right, okay, I'm going to do something about it. When there was no food or not enough food or no money, no pocket money, he didn't get angry. He just said, right, okay, what can I do about it? And he would buy the seed and grow the vegetables and feed the family, as well as sell a bit and make some money. And when I kind of realized, when I was older, and he was obviously much older, I would see him and he would be in meetings. He would always be a participant in meetings. You know how you get people who turn up to a meeting? It's really important meeting. Things are going wrong. There's people who are just, I don't know about you. I hate those meetings where people always come and criticize. It's probably why I really get turned off by politicians, because all they ever do is criticize. And whenever somebody says, well, what would you do? They never answer. And I think that's because they haven't got a clue. To be quite honest, I think most politicians don't know their arse from their elbow. But this is the thing that always got me about meetings. And it was one of these things where it was like, do not turn up and give me more problems. Do not turn up and criticize unless you've got a solution. But my dad did it in such a beautiful and eloquent way. He would always have that theory that if you spoke about something, if people didn't get it, Don't get angry. Just improve your argument. Don't get angry. Just improve the understanding. Don't get angry. Just get people on board and get them coming with you to see a different perspective. And he was brilliant at that. Absolutely brilliant. He would take a very simple problem that just had people at loggerheads, and he would take something, turn it around, and offer a solution. Now, I think those people, that is a superpower. If you can take a problem situation and dispel with anger, pour oil on troubled waters, calm people down, and then propose a potential solution. Yeah, sure, not everyone's going to agree, but at the moment, nobody's agreeing. So if you can propose a potential solution that is acceptable by the vast majority, and in fact, it is so simple and so elegant that even the people who object to it aren't really that upset about it. They kind of understand the process, and they understand the solution, and they understand why that could be a way of doing things. That is a superpower, and you may well have that situation, in your pocket. Whenever you go to a meeting, you can just be the one who just almost elevates themselves above everyone else and just says, okay, let's just stop with this. Let's take the heat out of it. Let's just look at it again, and let's just think about this, or this as being potential solutions. Here's the problem. Here's where we want to get to. What's the bit in between? What's the bridge? And you may be that sort of person. If you are, then please, I hope you turn up to those meetings, and I hope that you voice your solutions, because for me, one of the biggest things I find is, and you may as well, you may go to these meetings, and these meetings may be fiery, these meetings may be angry, but at the end of it, nothing's happened. Nobody's decided a way forward. There's no solution. As you walk out of that door, you have no clear steps to take. If I said, right, what are the first 3 things that I'm going to do as I walk out of here? I'm going to do this, then this, then this. Nobody leaves those meetings knowing that, because nothing's decided. It's anger. It's frustration. And yet there's people, when I've left meetings and I've spoken with them, and they just sort of said, well, I think if we'd have done this, this, and this, we could have solved that, agreed with that, and gone forward with that. And I just look at them and I just say, man, that's a superpower. The ability to cut through the anger, the frustration, the annoyance, the pettiness, and propose a solution like that. Why didn't you stand up and speak? Well, I'm not too sure. I don't like speaking in these meetings. Don't like speaking in these meetings? You have a duty to speak in these meetings. You are that sort of person that my father could do. He could stand up and he could take someone's frustration and turn it around and give people tangible, meaningful, beneficial things that they could do to get the job done, get the outcome that everyone wants. He could do that. And I meet people who do that, and I've tried myself to do that in these meetings, and sometimes, sometimes I hear my father telling me, that I should behave in a certain way and not get too sort of frustrated or whatever. But sometimes I do find that difficult. And whereas my father was an expert in it, I would say the apprentice, without a doubt. And I'm 50 years old, for goodness sake. You'd have thought I'd have learned by now. I'm getting better. But one of the things, all these things about my father and his ability to do these, to take a situation and see a problem and propose a solution that is so readily accepted and so... and people who were absolutely diametrically opposed suddenly come on board and are suddenly the biggest advocates, suddenly the biggest fans of this solution. It was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I remember talking to him about it. And one of his favorite things was, he said, when people, so you may have heard of Wimbledon and tennis. And he said, when the players left the locker room and walked towards the court, there was a quote on the wall. And he said the quote simply said, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. And I said, oh, wow. I said, where's that from? He said, it's taken from a poem by Rudyard Kipling called If. And I thought, okay, I've never heard of that poem. And I was a kid at the time. But I was fascinated with this idea that if you can meet with triumph and disaster and yet treat those two imposters just the same, to keep a level, effectively keep a level head, to never go to an extreme, to be able to, the triumph, you are a gracious winner. And when it's a disaster, you are a determined, persevering person who can bounce back. I thought, wow, nothing can ever faze you. Incredible. And I'm going to get that poem out and read it to you now to remind you. If, by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on the turn at one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Now, that poem, now as I look back on my dad and what he did and how he lived his life, that poem is, I find really, really emotional. I find it really hard to read, even to say it without, getting really, choked up. Because I can see so many things in there that, my dad, I kind of understand why I like that quote. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. He had a childhood affected by war. I cannot imagine having to hide in your cellar and hope a bomb doesn't land on you. I can't imagine the upheaval, the worry, older brother going off to fight in the war, all that uncertainty, all that worry, all that scarcity, so the lack of food, the no toys, all the differences that between then and now. I can't get it, and yet my dad could treat that disaster just the same as a triumph, and that's a superpower, hey? And if you can do the same, then you've got a superpower. But what about the other things? How about the opening lines? If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, that's powerful. And everywhere within this poem, I feel there is inspiration and there's an instruction as to how you could live your life, how you could pull out that superpower. So if you can bear to see the things you've given your life to broken and yet stoop and build them up again with worn out tools. This is perseverance. This is, hey, you get knocked down, but you stand up again. This is in here. If you ever been in a situation where you felt you've got nothing more to give, but you can force your heart and nerve and sinew, I think this is my dad. When I listen to this poem, it's not Kipling talking to his children. It's not Kipling giving his sort of help, using his words here to help with guiding you through life and what makes a fulfilling and a full life. I feel this is my dad teaching me little bits of this, and it was almost like little sections of this poem were some of the things that he was trying for me. He was giving to me, and he was spending his time doing that for me, and that was a superpower that I am eternally grateful for, and it's one that I hope to pass on to my kids. And I have talked to my kids about this poem, and and I've given it everything. I've given it everything. I've put the passion into it. I've talked about it. I've kind of said, look, this is so incredible, and the kids look up at me, and they shake their heads and go, what are you on about? Me. And they're off. Is it something you can explain to kids? Is it something that you only get when you're older? I don't know. If you've got the superpower of being able to convey this across to kids when they have youth on their side, they feel immortal. When they feel that they can waste days doing whatever, if that's your superpower, I've got 3 kids who you need to talk to. But it was my dad. I wanted to just tell you about my dad and just how some of the things that he did, I now find what he did in that poem, If by Rudyard Kipling. I find that incredibly comforting, inspiring, and just amazing. And I think I can only describe that as super. That is a superpower poem for me. It may be for you, it may not. I don't know about Rudyard Kipling's background and where he fits in being judged by modern day society. But for me, that poem stands alone as, look, this isn't, this is just a way that you can deal with life. This is how you get on with people. This is how you stand up again. This is how you bounce back from adversity. This is how you deal with things. This is what you do about your time. You fill it with meaningful things. And this is, an ability for you to live your life and in a meaningful and fulfilling and full way. If you've loved that poem, but you've got a better one for you, I would love to hear it. Just let me know. Just tell me and we'll have a look at it. Maybe What's My Superpower has a poetry corner or something like that. But look, listen, folks, my name's Nigel T. Best, and I just wanted to share with you that little bit of my life and how that has impacted me and how I still feel it now, because I think my dad put the pebble into the pond, and those ripples, I am still feeling and benefiting from those ripples from my dad. And I just wanted to share that with you because, you may have that superpower too. And if you do, then you better go out there and use it and contribute to the world. So until next time, folks, be super.